Hi everyone, this is Balazs from RacingBrick, and this is the first Rebrickable video in 2025. This series has been running for a while now. We have looked at some amazing custom builds in detail. If you missed those videos, I recommend you check them out on the channel. Today I have two LEGO sets with me that should look pretty familiar to you. The two Transformers releases featuring Optimus Prime from 2022 and Bumblebee from 2024. I made detailed building reviews about both sets when they were released. I was a huge Transformers fan as a kid when I watched G1. These are the only non-LEGO toys on display behind me. With the recent release of the Transformers 1 movie, which is excellent by the way, I thought it was a good time to revisit the builds. I really like that LEGO made these. I respect the effort that went into the design process to give us fully transformable robots, but as I mentioned in my review, I think this also has some drawbacks. The transformation sequence for Optimus is okay, but despite all efforts it still feels flimsy here and there. I mean, you can switch between modes, but it's far from the toy experience. Let's look at what I said about Bumblebee at the end of my review. It's not hard to build, but the transformation is complicated and one of the modes looks much better than the other. I have a feeling that a robot that doesn't transform but is more detailed would have been more successful in the long run. Some people agreed with me, others thought a transformer should definitely transform no matter what, but apparently there are different opinions. So, after this long introduction, I would like to introduce you to today's creator on Rebrickable, Ransom Fern. If the name sounds familiar, it's probably because of his truly incredible alternate build of the red baby in a diaper, the 2022 UCS Hulkbuster. The improvements he made with the exact same inventory were truly amazing. But we are here for something else today. He made multiple alternate builds for these two sets here. There are two different versions of Optimus Prime. The first is the IDW edition and the other is from the 2018 Bumblebee movie, which was also the inspiration for the alternate build of, Bumblebee. You can buy the instructions either individually or as a bundle. You will receive high-quality digital instructions, and as a rare extra, the designer has also provided the 3D Studio file so you can observe every detail. There are also two slightly different versions of Optimus, with or without the extra parts of the set. As I had already built him, I opted for the version without extra parts. There are also PDFs with light and dark mode. I would say the designer has really gone the extra mile here. I've already built the main components, but before I assemble it, I would like to show you a few highlights. This is the hip part. You have to be careful with it because the top is quite fragile. The next one is the leg. It doesn't have many moving parts, although it has a lot of angles. Only the ankle can move sideways. It's much bigger than the original, so it needs to have a lot of empty space in it. There are some sections that are not well supported from below. The two legs are now attached. As I mentioned earlier, you need to pay attention to this section on the top. Next up is the torso. This assembly is pretty dense and has a lot of ingenious connections. The windows, for example, are held in place by hinges, but they can't move because the surrounding elements fit perfectly into the angles. There are a lot of inverted pieces here, surrounded by parts that point in the opposite direction, and sometimes they overlap. Some parts are only held by a single stud, need to watch out for those. This whole back part is clipped in here, but when I push it in place properly, then the second clip is also attached, holding it at the right angle. The head uses the same main components as the original, but is still quite different. We will compare them soon. It goes in place, and the whole torso is also attached. Only the arms are missing. There are a few unstable spots again, and the last item is this huge blaster. Now we can assemble Bumblebee. There are 2 years between these two models, and I don't know if the inventory was better in this case or the designer himself improved his skills, but I found a lot more cool details and building techniques in this model. The torso is built around these big joints that are at a certain angle. As you can see, it's rock solid at this point, but if you look at it from the side, you can see how many angled parts it has. Very impressive. This top section has hinges on the side and is held at a specific angle by parts in the middle. The next items are the parts of the leg. They are much more solid than the components of Optimus. There are only a few moving parts. Some cool details, like this curved element attached in an unusual way to the studs below, and those studs themselves and the surrounding pieces, which are made up of many different layers pointing in opposite directions, yet end up forming a solid structure. So, the parts are connected, pay attention to the different elements working there, and then the leg is attached to the torso. Here's the other one, and now Bumblebee can stand. Then comes the first arm, with a nice amount of articulation and smooth surfaces, and again tricky connections. Look at how that one by one is packed into two brackets, a very nice and solid end result. The other arm has options. You can either have a similar hand or the blaster familiar from the movie. We have two transparent wings that you can attach to the back. They are still movable and posable. Then two wheels go here, and the final item is the head, which again is very different from the original. Doesn't use the printed faceplate but has a cool extra trick. You can convert it into the robots battle mode. So both Autobots are finished and they look very cool together. Here are the leftovers from both sets. I can say that the amount of parts used is pretty impressive. A note on Optimus: since I used a set that was already built and stickered, there are some grey tiles that were used with the sticker. I don't think they are that distracting. So how do they look next to the originals? Well, here they are. I don't think the huge difference really needs to be explained. To be fair, there's a reason for that difference, because the two stock sets represent the G1 figures and can be transformed, whereas the two custom builds are from the Bumblebee movie and look more like an action figure. But that's what I was talking about in my earlier videos. I think that something that can actually transform required too many compromises, especially in the case of Bumblebee, because look how sleek and good looking can he be without those limitations. Both alternate builds are much larger, but more empty space between the parts can only be felt in the case of Optimus. He also has somewhat limited posability. The arms are too heavy for those joints. He won't be able to hold the blaster either. He's really only suitable for display. Bumblebee, on the other hand, is very flexible and can be put into many different cool positions. I'm really impressed with this build, which is also very playable. So folks, those are the two mocks from Ransom Fern I wanted to show you today. You can find the links to the building instructions in the description. Please let me know what you think of them. If you've already built them or plan to, let's talk about it in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video, then please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe with notifications, because more exciting LEGO videos are coming soon. See you next time, bye bye.